Good morning, everybody. How are you doing? So, I thought I would get back into the swing of doing a daily live. Um, I'd rather got out of the habit of this, and I've been so busy with doing delivery for clients that I was not necessarily taking my own medicine and doing all the kind of the daily live comms that I should be doing. So, it's going to change here. So, what we've got today is a look at hello, Liz. Yeah, as I've just said, I have been a bit of a stranger. It's been a bit, I've been I haven't been taking my own medicine, and it's something that I think we're all guilty of from time to time. We spend a lot of time helping other people do the things that we sort of deliver and teach, and sometimes it can be a bit difficult to fit your own stuff in. But I've really carved out daily space for this now. So what I'm talking about today is video testimonials, because they've been on my mind a lot recently, because I've been helping people with testimonials, and I've also just put out my new testimonial service. So I wanted to share some of the good morning, Alison. I wanted to share some of my thoughts about um, uh, how testimonials, video testimonials particularly, fit into your business, how they augment and help with the process of business growth and business sort of basically selling more. How do testimonials help you sell more? So I want to get into what I think of as my three top ways that we can use testimonials to drive business growth. As always, if you've got any questions during this live, pop them in the comments and I'll bring them up and we can get into them. Yes, man, COVID, unsurprisingly, COVID's really nasty. God, it's completely knocked me for sideways. And this week is the first week where I felt like my brain is back to functioning order, which is good. So yeah, I'm doing very well, thank you, Alison. It's good to have you here. And hello, Tom, Facebook user. I'm just going to go over and see who this might be, because I've got another screen open here. Yeah, it's hard, isn't it, Liz? It's really hard. Yeah, so if you come up as hello as Facebook user, do let me know who it is. Yeah, it's tough. Really, it stinks, doesn't it? Particularly if you've got a million other things going on. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that you're well, not glad to hear you shattered, obviously, but you know, it's a slow process of kind of getting better. I'm still sort of quite short of breath, actually, and that seems to be one of the things that's stuck with me. But I'm trying to sort of get myself exercising to try and increase my sort of general levels of fitness, because it might just be to do that I'm a bit out of shape and a bit overweight. Hello, Chris. How you doing? How are you feeling, Chris? You had a bit of a fall, didn't you, recently? But yeah, you've been on my mind. I haven't obviously haven't seen you at the window to wave. So I hope you are on the mend, Chris. So video testimonials. Here are my three top kind of things that I think video testimonials are really good at in your business, and why you should consider adding some into your marketing assets. So the first one is a really straightforward one. It speeds up the buying process. So if we think about the sort of the process, the mental process that people go through when they come to buy from you, there are obviously going to be key decision makers in any business, and this goes for large corporates through to sort of smaller solo businesses, and the sort of the spectrum in between. When people are making decisions about whether or not to buy from you. We flip between two states. We flip between emotional decision making and intellectual decision making. And this is kind of, so think about the last time you bought an appliance, or mobile phones are particularly good about this, because we get weirdly emotional about these things that we carry around in our pockets. We probably shouldn't, but we seem to. So they elicit a certain amount of desire. We want them, and they look nice and shiny and kind of do exciting things. So very often when we're sort of looking to buy something like that, we want the shiny stuff. It solves a problem in our lives, and we want the nice things. We want the things that are going to do good stuff. And the same goes for in business. Very often people are looking for a solution to a problem they're experiencing with their business. So it could be that you're not generating enough leads, or you're looking for a bookkeeper or an accountant or something like that to take stuff off your plate. So very often this kind of the buying process starts with quite an intense problem, and you are providing the solution. So we start off in quite an emotional state, and very often you'll feel that sense of relief when you come across somebody who's a supplier of a service that you need, that's going to help you with your problems. So we look at it, we go, yes, that's the one for me. And then you tend to pull back a little bit, and you start looking for stuff to back up your initial kind of enthusiasm, your initial emotionally driven excitement. So think about the way the phone buying situation is an interesting one, because if you're like me, you get excited about a thing, a nice shiny thing, and then you will go off and you will do lots of research. You'll look at reviews, you'll look at specifications, you'll look at the intellectual stuff to satisfy the kind of the factual needs of the buying process. And then you tend to flip back over into emotional. You'll get excited, you'll go, oh right, I've satisfied my sort of need to look at the stats, the facts, and you flip back into an emotional state. And you might go between these two states a number of times. Video testimonials are interesting because they can do two things. They can satisfy the intellectual decision-making part of the process, where facts and figures and kind of information, hard information is kind of that need for hard information is satisfied, or they can satisfy the need for emotional and sort of validate our emotional buying decisions. Is that all making sense so far? So video testimonials will sit at this point where you're listening to stories. So just to define something, what do we mean by a video testimonial? A video testimonial is where you get a satisfied client in front of the camera, talking about their experience of working with you, having bought your services or your products, and talking about the benefits that they have derived from what you do or what you sell. So very often in that sort of flip-flop between emotional decision making and intellectual decision making, the video testimonial can help guide that person on that buying journey, as it can satisfy both the emotional side of things. So when we see somebody talking with passion and excitement, either about the pains they were experiencing, or the kind of the feeling that they got when your solution had worked, those are really powerful decisions. Those are real powerful levers that you can pull, or you can help the video testimonial can help kind of pull. So it can satisfy some emotional needs of a buyer, but also you can get people talking about hard results. So you can get people talking about, if you're in marketing, about the kind of the sort of the uptick in business, or the how many more units have been sold. So you can get people to talk about hard facts. And you might get somebody who's very candid about what they spent and what they got, so you can talk about ROI. And so you've got a video that can satisfy the intellectual side of things, the sort of factual based decision making process. So it's interesting because it sits in a place where you can get a bit of both. So that's my first tip. That's my first reason for looking at testimonials, that they help speed up the buying process, because if you have content that is giving that information about emotion and emotional sort of decision making, and the intellectual decision making, you are satisfying that need, and you're making people feel good about buying from you. And you're not having to do that by it's not you saying that, it's somebody else. It's the power of getting somebody else who has had benefit from what you do saying that. That is a really powerful thing to be able to do. So that's the first point. The second point is about showing rather than telling. Now, very often you'll see written testimonials. So it says, Bob from Croydon says, yes, this service was amazing. And you think, does Bob from Croydon really exist? But if you've got Bob from Croydon on the screen talking about having bought, I don't know why I said Bob from Croydon. Sorry, Bob, if there is a real Bob from Croydon watching that, I'm not calling you out. But this is about showing rather than telling. This is about credibility. This is about believability, frankly, because very often you can look at some of these kind of testimonials and think, hang on a minute, would somebody really say that? And it may be completely unfair. It may be that Bob from Croydon is 100% a real person and did say that. But if you've got this person on video saying those things, then you're going to have a much more easy to believe scenario. You can, I mean, people do fake testimonials, and very often they scream out for being fake a mile away. You can spot them because people aren't talking in normal, natural ways. They're not talking with passion and enthusiasm in quite the same way that a real person does. So this is about showing as much as telling. But not only are you seeing the real person talking about their real experiences, if you are doing testimonials where you're on site, you can actually see people putting what you do into action or using a product. So those kind of stories, the testimonials, the case studies, where we get to see real human beings using your product or service or putting into practice what you've taught them, that's super powerful. And that is about showing rather than telling. You're not just putting text on a page and sort of crossing your fingers and hoping that that's going to work. Now, of course, using screenshots of testimonials from Facebook and the like, that is clearly there are real people involved, and that helps on sales pages, all that kind of stuff. But I really, really love having those sales pages or those kind of those places where you can see real human beings who've bought your products or your services talking about them honestly and openly. And I think that's a really important point to consider. When you're getting testimonials, you want to be able to tell a story that feels that is believable. If somebody is coming on and just sort of talking in vague terms, not giving a lot of detail, it can feel very, very woolly. You want to get some real detail, some real precision in the kind of things that people are talking about, because you don't want people to feel like they're watching something which doesn't deliver in a satisfying way. If people are watching a testimonial, it's because they are looking for information, because they are on a buying journey. So you want to give them solid kind of something to really get a hold onto, something they can get their teeth into. They need to know. So my final tip here is about choosing the right moment of deployment. So you've got your testimonial. When are you showing it to people? you've got to think of the journey that people go on as buyers. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of an example of a client we used to work with a few years ago now, admittedly, but they're a builder, and they built, they did sort of private builds for companies that that kind of private builds for individuals, not companies. Sorry, got distracted by a notification. They did private builds for high net worth individuals, so people with home builds with budgets of 3 million plus. So we're talking about people with kind of significant personal resources who wanted to build their dream home and needed a safe pair of hands to deliver up a really high specification build and do it with kind of the minimum fuss and kind of taking away all the stresses. As somebody who's built their own house, not a £3 million house, I would hasten to add, as much as I'd like to, it is not a stress-free situation. It is not a stress-free build, and so having somebody take stuff off your plate is very appealing. Now, what they were really good at was generating the leads, but their leads weren't converting well. And what they were struggling with was the process of getting people across the finish line. So they had people with big budgets ready to go, and they had a good track record, but they weren't able to get the amount of people that they wanted to sign up and sort of start projects. So what we did is we did a series of interviews with some of the customers. Now, these people were people who valued their privacy. So these videos never ever saw the light of day. They were only ever deployed in a very, very strategic way. So what would happen is that before the first main sales meeting, so they'd get the initial brief, they'd kind of put their quotes together, and then they'd go to a meeting to present their kind of their figures, and their sort of plans for the build. So what would happen is that before that meeting, they would send a link, a private link, to a series of testimonials and case studies from other high net worth individuals who'd had their luxury dream home builds done by this company, and they'd watch those. And the power of those was that, it was people seeing people like them talk in positive terms about the experience of working with this builder. Now, probably there were no more than 15 views on that, 15 views a year on that video, other videos in the series, and that didn't matter because they probably had 10 projects a year, because they were a fast growing builder, and you probably sounds super stressful building 10 big houses a year, or whatever it was, but they found that their conversion rates were massively improved by the fact that they were able to show videos to the right people at the right time. Now, these weren't for general release. These were for very, very precise moments in that sales process. So they were never ever intended to be for general, for general release. They were just to be used in a sort of a laser focused sniper kind of way, deployed at precisely the right moment to help somebody understand the value that they delivered. So it was delivered in conjunction with a well-written proposal and a sales process. So it wasn't just kind of splattered out there willy-nilly. It was put there as part of a very considered sales process. So that's what I'd like you to do, is think about where testimonials can fit in to that journey from somebody never having bought from you before to being a paying customer. And I would say that kind of strategic approach works really well for kind of high ticket stuff. If you can share stories that are relevant to your higher ticket buyers at the right moment, it can make a huge difference. So that's it. I'd take a look at video testimonials if you've not used them before. There are kind of plenty of ways that you can get them in a way that isn't sort of stressful or difficult. And I think there's a link either up above or down below. So we've got a new testimonial service where we can either do it for you as a virtual recording. So we get together, work out what you need, what's going to help in your business. We put together a list of clients that might go for it. Then we choose one, you approach them, then you put us in touch, and we take care of the rest. So that's for generating video testimonials virtually, but also we have an in-person package where we go along and film the testimonial at your customer's business premises and it's a different experience. It's a slightly more chunky piece of video content because you're getting all that footage of seeing them in their working environment, all that kind of jazz. So yeah, so check out the sales page if you want to have a look at that, or if you're interested, ping me a message over. But really what I wanted you to think about today is think, if you have testimonials already, how can you get more value out of them? Or if you haven't got testimonials, maybe put it on that list of things to do, that ever expanding list of things to do in your business. If you've got any questions, please do ask. Thank you, Liz. I have them from time to time, but they do squeeze out the brain. But no, so we've sort of formalized it all into a kind of a package. So that's it. I will see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Hope you get lots done, and I will be here with another daily live tomorrow. Cheerio.